Most people think leadership begins when someone gives you a title. Manager, founder, coach, leader. This is a conversation me and my husband have all the time. But real leadership starts long before the titles or the promotion. It starts in the quiet moments no one sees. The decision you make when there's no audience, the standards you hold when no one is evaluating you, the promises you keep to yourself when breaking them would be quite easy. Because leadership is not visibility, leadership is alignment. In the first video of this series, we talked about something many high-functioning people struggle with: making decisions without a clear values filter. When your values are not guiding your choices, life fills up with things that make sense but don't feel aligned, and there is a big difference. In the second video of this series, we talked about what happens next: learning to trust yourself long enough to act on what you know is right. But once values and self-trust begin to stabilize, something deeper begins to emerge. And that's leadership. Not the kind that most people talk about. Not the authority, not the influence, but something quieter. Integrity. Embodied leadership is when your actions consistently reflect what you say matters to you, not just at work, but within your home. That sounds simple, but in practice, it's where most people lose their alignment. Because it's easy to talk about your values, but it is much harder to live them in the ordinary moments when no one else is watching. Integrity is lived in the small moments. It's how you treat people when you're stressed, how you handle commitments when your schedule gets tight, whether you choose honesty when something would be easier to just avoid altogether. Leadership is not built in dramatic moments. It's built in your ordinary decisions repeated over time. This is performance versus purpose, right? This is why embodied leadership matters. When your actions match your values, people trust you. But more importantly, you trust yourself. You stop feeling like two different versions of yourself. The person you present to the world and the person who quietly questions whether you're living the way you say you want to be living. Alignment removes that tension. You begin moving through life with a steadier sense of integrity. Your decisions become clearer. Your words carry more weight. Your presence becomes calmer. You don't have to be louder to be powerful. Because people can feel when someone is grounded in who they are. But embodied leadership isn't about perfection. You will still make mistakes because you are a human being. You will still face moments where you wish you had handled that situation differently. Leadership is not about the absence of those moments. It's about what you do afterward. Do you avoid the truth? Do you pretend like it never happened? Do you keep pushing through? Or do you take responsibility, evaluate, and realign? That choice is leadership. So let me ask you this. Where in your life right now is there a gap between what you value and how you are currently showing up in your life. And I don't want this to be in judgment of yourself. It's just honesty. It's awareness. Because noticing that gap is where embodied leadership begins. It is never, ever about criticizing yourself. It's about closing the distance between who you are and how you live. Each time you make a decision that reflects your values, that gap becomes smaller and smaller. You strengthen your integrity, your confidence deepens, and your leadership becomes visible in ways that don't require titles or recognition. You lead best when your actions match your values. That's what people feel when someone is truly aligned. But then there's another shift that eventually happens when you start living this way. Your decision begins to come from somewhere new. Not just from what you value, but from who you are becoming intentionally. And that changes everything, because leadership becomes much clearer when your choices reflect the future version of yourself rather than the habits of your past. In the next video, we're going to talk about identity-based decision-making, how the version of yourself you are becoming can guide the choices that you make today. If you are someone who cares about living with more alignment and integrity, make sure you subscribe and stick around.